Have you ever felt like your own mind is quietly working against you? Not the world outside, not your boss, your past, or your environment, but that silent force within, whispering doubts just when you're about to rise. The mind is a powerful paradox. It can be your greatest tool, capable of imagination, strategy, and resolve, but also your deadliest enemy, capable of slicing your confidence to pieces with just one thought. We often assume that the real challenges in life are external people, circumstances, setbacks. But the truth cuts deeper. The fiercest battle often rages behind your forehead, in the silence between your thoughts. Think about it. How many times have you hesitated, not because someone stopped you, but because your mind created an invisible wall? That quiet voice whispering, "You're not ready, you're not good enough, or what if you fail?" Those doubts are like weeds in a garden. Left unchecked, they spread, choking ambition, draining courage, and leaving behind a barren field of missed chances. Why do we allow these thoughts to take over? Why do we surrender our potential to shadows we created? It's not because we are weak, it's because we were never taught how to take the reins. We fused our identity with every fleeting emotion, every fear, every mental fog, thinking those thoughts defined who we were. But they don't. This is where the ancient wisdom of Stoicism steps in, not as a distant philosophy, but as a real, practical way to reclaim your power. Imagine transforming your mind from a chaotic storm into a sharpened blade that defends you, guides you, and carves a path forward. That's the journey you're about to begin, mastering your inner world, so it no longer masters you. You're ready to stop letting your mind rule you and start leading it in. Have you ever noticed how a single thought barely formed, almost a whisper, can sabotage your entire day? One moment you're ready to take on the world, and the next, your mind sneaks in a seed of doubt. You can't. That seed grows fast, tangling around your motivation and shrinking your bold dreams into timid steps. The mind is a fascinating force. It can build towering castles of imagination, yet in the same breath, dig deep trenches of fear. Like a double-edged sword, it can craft a clear path toward success or slice down your momentum with invisible fears. When it's fully awake and under your guidance, the mind orchestrates great plans, solves complex problems, and drives progress. But when left unchecked, even a fleeting negative thought can spiral into a wall of resistance. Have you ever heard that voice right before you're about to leap into something new? The one that whispers, "You're not ready. You'll mess this up." Stay safe. It's subtle, but paralyzing. And if you let it, that voice doesn't just slow you down. It builds a cage. A cage made not of bars and locks, but of hesitation, insecurity, and regret. But here's the truth. That voice isn't some external enemy. It's your own mind turned against you, and you can reclaim it. As Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Those aren't just poetic words. They're a call to arms, a reminder that the battle for your future is being waged inside your head. Your mind is like a vast garden. Each thought you allow to take root, whether of doubt or determination, will grow. If you constantly water fear, it will spread like weeds. But if you nurture clarity, courage, and reason, your mental landscape transforms into a place of power. Now imagine this. Instead of letting the sword of your mind turn inward and cut you down, you learn to grip its handle with steadiness. You raise it not to destroy yourself, but to carve a way forward through confusion, through fear, through every internal obstacle. The choice is always yours. Will you let your thoughts trap you in invisible prisons? Or will you become the master of your mind, turning your greatest enemy into your most faithful ally? Let today be the day you pick up that sword with intention and us. Have you ever stood on the edge of a breakthrough only to feel your own mind dragging you back? Just as you gather the courage to leap, your thoughts scream, "Wait, danger ahead." That instinct isn't random. It's ancient, hardwired, and deeply rooted in your brain's programming. The human mind was not designed for success. It was designed for survival. Its primary goal is to keep you safe, even if that means keeping you small. It's the same inner mechanism that once helped our ancestors avoid predators, now manifesting as anxiety before a big presentation, or hesitation before pursuing a dream? Your brain is trying to protect you, but in doing so, it often cages you. Each time you approach something challenging, starting a new project, facing a fear, stepping into uncertainty, your mind triggers the fight or flight response. It whispers, "This could go wrong. Better not." The heart races. Procrastination kicks in, and suddenly your bold ideas retreat into silence. But what if that fear isn't a warning to stop, but a signal to start? What if it's the sign that you're moving toward growth, not danger? Even the most elite athletes, like Olympic champions, confront this battle. Just before the race, when their bodies are primed and trained, their minds still whisper, "Maybe today's not the day," but they run anyway. They act anyway. And in doing so, they transcend the very instincts that try to hold them back. Faith, whether in yourself, in reason, or in something greater, can be the force that cuts through this resistance. When you combine that with the clarity of Stoic philosophy, you begin to see fear not as a stop sign, but as a doorway. You are not meant to live in a constant state of retreat. God has gifted you with intelligence, strength, and the ability to choose courage over comfort. When you take that first brave step, right, the opening sentence, start the project. Send the message. You teach your mind to distinguish between real danger and imagined limits. That's how transformation begins. Not in waiting for fear to disappear, but in acting despite its presence. Let action become your proof of faith. Let your movement forward be the sermon that drowns out hesitation. Only then will your mind shift from a fearful guardian to a powerful guide. So the next time your mind tells you to pause, ask yourself, is this hesitation protecting me or preventing me? You have a choice. You can obey that inner voice of fear, or you can challenge it step by step, breath by breath. And with each act of courage, you reprogram your mind, teaching it that you are no longer just surviving, you are growing, thriving, and leading. David Goggins' journey is the living proof that the mind is both a terrifying enemy and a phenomenal ally. Imagine waking up every day with a storm of negative voices in your head, reminding you of every failure, every weakness, and every reason why you're not enough. That was Goggins' reality. As a child, he was surrounded by pain, self-doubt, and criticism. Those dark whispers followed him into adulthood, but instead of letting them define him, he made a decision to fight back. He didn't start with superhuman strength or discipline. He started with a single, brutal choice: not to let fear write the story of his life. He pushed himself to extremes that would break most people 4,030 push-ups in a single session. Countless grueling runs, and the unrelenting training required to become a Navy SEAL. Each step wasn't just a physical act. It was a war against the mind's whispers, Epictetus once said. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Goggins embodies this Stoic principle. Where others saw excuses, he saw opportunity. Where others stepped back, he leaned forward. His reactions were not fueled by emotion, but by purpose. That's the core of Stoic discipline, responding with clarity instead of collapse. His turning point came when he chose action over understanding. Instead of endlessly analyzing his past, he committed to daily discipline. He woke up earlier than most, trained harder than anyone, and refused to entertain pity. Through this ritual, he didn't just build muscle, he forged mental steel. And then came the true test, a 100-mile ultramarathon. His body screamed, his joints throbbed. His mind begged him to quit, but he didn't. He kept running, step after agonizing step. Why? Because each stride shouted louder than the fear, "Go anyway." He proved that your mind, when trained through relentless action, no longer rules you, it obeys you. What if Goggins had stopped at the first excuse? What if he had listened to that inner voice that told him, "You can't"? He would have remained a prisoner of his thoughts. Instead, he broke free through action, not intention. The question is, will you let your mind limit you, or will you push beyond it like Goggins did until your greatest weakness becomes your strongest weapon? His story isn't about talent, it's about choice. He chose pain over comfort, effort over excuses, and growth over fear. And the truth is, you don't need to run 100 miles to follow his lead. All it takes is a decision. Start where you are, with what you have. Wake up a little earlier. Challenge that one thought that tells you to stop. Move your body when your mind begs for rest. Bit by bit, step by step, you'll build a mind that serves you, not enslaves you. Goggins didn't just conquer physical feats, he conquered himself. And that is the ultimate victory. Have you ever sat frozen in front of a blank page or paused at the starting line of something important, paralyzed not by the task itself, but by the noise in your head? That voice says, "You're not ready, you'll fail," or worse, "Why even try?" This isn't laziness. It's an internal war, mental ambush that strikes just when action matters most. But there's a way through this battlefield. A strategy as ancient as Stoic wisdom and as modern as personal transformation. Observe, confront, execute. It's not just a motivational slogan. It's a blueprint for reclaiming control over your mind. First, observe. Step outside yourself. Mentally, instead of reacting instantly, imagine your thoughts like passing clouds there, but not permanent. Notice when the voice of doubt begins to speak. You don't have to believe it. You don't have to fight it. Just recognize, this is fear. This is insecurity. This is resistance. Observation builds awareness. Awareness is the beginning of freedom. Next, confront. Once you've identified the negative voice, ask it questions.
Is there any
real evidence that I'll fail? Have I succeeded in similar situations before? What would I say to a friend having this thought? Often you'll discover that the fear is built on falsehoods, not facts. You weaken its grip the moment you challenge its logic. And finally, execute. Take action.
action?
Don't wait for confidence to arrive. Confidence comes after movement. Write the first sentence. Make the call. Step out the door. As author James Clear once admitted, he didn't feel like writing each morning, but forced himself to type 2 sentences anyway. Why? Because action shatters hesitation like light breaks darkness. Your mind is like a sword. Left in its sheath, it rusts in doubt. But when you draw it, observe your enemy, confront the illusion, and strike with action, you become unstoppable. Momentum builds, resistance weakens, and what once felt impossible becomes inevitable. So, the next time you feel stuck, don't just think. Move. Observe your thoughts. Confront their validity, and act with purpose. This simple triad, observe, confront, execute, can transform your mind from a battlefield into a place of breakthrough. Discipline begins with one small step. What's yours today? You don't need to win the war in one day. Just take the next small step, then the next. Let execution become your daily habit, and soon, hesitation won't even have a place to speak. The battlefield of the mind is not conquered in silence, it's conquered in motion. Make that call, take that walk, write that page. Do it today, not perfectly, but powerfully. Each action becomes a message to your mind. I am in control. I decide the direction. And that's how real change begins. Not with force, but with focus and forward motion. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to spend hours scrolling through your phone, lost in a digital fog, yet find it nearly impossible to commit to a single uncomfortable task? The reason isn't weakness, it's wiring. Your brain has been conditioned to seek comfort and avoid pain, but what if you could retrain it to embrace the hard things, the cold, the strain, the resistance, and discover power on the other side? Think of your mind as a double-edged sword. One edge sharpens creativity, perseverance, and vision. The other slices through your willpower the moment you step outside your comfort zone. Every day you're given a choice to retreat into what's easier, to step into the difficult and shape your strength through it. Take the cold shower, for example. Not just a physical show, it's a mental challenge. The moment that icy stream hits your skin, your brain screams, "Stop. This is too much." But when you breathe deeply and stay there, you teach your mind a vital lesson. Discomfort is not danger. Discipline begins where comfort ends. Push further. Go for the extra push-up when your arms shake. Hold the plank a few seconds longer. Each repetition isn't just physical, it's psychological. You're not just building muscle, you're forging mental resilience. Every time you defy the inner voice that says quit, you become a little stronger, a little more capable. Look at Wim Hof, the man who sat in ice for hours and turned cold into an ally. He didn't achieve that by avoiding pain. He leaned into it repeatedly until fear no longer had a place in his mind. You don't have to climb mountains shirtless to follow his path. You simply need to do something difficult and purpose every day. This isn't about punishment. It's about freedom. The freedom to know that discomfort won't break you. The freedom to train your mind so it obeys your will, not your fear. Over time, your brain stops resisting challenge and starts expecting it. It adapts, toughens, and transforms. So, what will you do tomorrow morning? Stay under the warm blanket? Or throw it off and embrace the cold? Will you avoid the difficult conversation or face it with resolve? Start with small acts, stack them, and soon you'll realize you weren't avoiding pain, you were avoiding power, but you found it. And remember, each act of voluntary hardship, no matter how small, is a declaration. A declaration that you are not ruled by impulse, that your comfort zone is not your home, that your mind was built to serve your strength, not sabotage it. Discomfort is no longer the enemy. It is the tool. Use it daily, and you'll build a mind that doesn't retreat. Advances. In a world overflowing with digital noise, your mind can easily become the battleground of chaos. Every time you scroll through your feed, you're absorbing messages, some inspiring, but many filled with outrage, anxiety, and distraction, and while it may seem harmless, those repeated exposures shape your mental landscape far more than you realize. Your mind is not just a sponge, it's a garden. What you feed it, what you allow to take root, determines whether it becomes a place of clarity or confusion. The barrage of negative headlines, toxic comment sections, and fear-driven content doesn't just inform you, it drains you. You begin to carry that tension with you, even when you're offline. But here's the liberating truth. You control what enters. You choose the input. And that choice defines your output, your mood, your clarity, your direction. Think of social media as a storm. Now imagine books, thoughtful podcasts, and positive communities as lighthouses guiding you safely through it. Every time you pick up a timeless book or tune into a growth-focused conversation, you recalibrate your mind. You're no longer reacting to noise, you're responding with purpose. Tim Ferriss, a best-selling author and entrepreneur, once embraced a minimal media diet. He cut off most news sources and replaced them with deep quality learning. The result? More focus, less anxiety, better decisions. You can do the same. Curate your environment. Choose content that uplifts, challenges, and sharpens you. And don't stop with content. Look at your community. Who do you talk to daily? Who inspires you? When you surround yourself with people striving toward growth, your mind naturally levels up. A single conversation with the right person can ignite more change than 100 shallow clicks. It's not about escaping the world. It's about designing your place within it. By muting chaos and tuning into wisdom, you claim authorship of your own mind. You stop being a passive consumer and become the architect of your thoughts. So ask yourself today, what are you feeding your mind? Are you letting the world shape you by default, or are you intentionally choosing what builds you? Disciplined. Mind is not born, it's cultivated. Start by changing what you let in, and watch everything within begin to grow stronger. Each decision you make about what to read, what to listen to, and who to engage with is a vote for the future version of yourself. Feed your mind like you would nourish your body intentionally, consistently, and with care. Replace mindless scrolling with mindful learning. And soon, you'll find that peace, clarity, and purpose become your default setting, not chaos. Your mental environment shapes your destiny, so build it wisely, brick by brick, habit by habit. Have you ever looked back on a situation and wondered why you reacted the way you did? Maybe it was a burst of anger, anxious overthinking, or retreating in silence. Later, you realize your emotions were in the driver's seat and your thoughts had no direction. That's the danger of unconscious reaction, when you allow your emotions to act before reason can speak. Stoic philosophy offers a powerful remedy, what they called intentional response. It's the ability to pause, reflect, and then act with clarity. This isn't passive stillness, it's active control. Imagine your mind as a double-edged sword. If you don't wield it with purpose, it turns against you. But when you grasp the handle firmly, you gain the ability to cut through chaos instead of being cut down by it. The first step is simple, but not easy. Pause, not to retreat or avoid, but to interrupt the emotional spiral. When frustration surges, ask, why am I reacting this way? That single question inserts space where reason can breathe. Behind every reaction lies an assumption. Question it, and you break its power. Then comes redirection. Shine the light of reason on the emotion. Ask, is this truly as urgent as it feels? Or what outcome do I want here? This isn't suppression, it's transformation. Like Marcus Aurelius writing in his journal during war and plague, you too can create an inner retreat. Grab a notebook, write down the thoughts. Watch how they lose their edge when brought into the light. Every time you choose awareness over reaction, you reclaim control. Stop being a slave to impulse and become a student of clarity. With repetition, this practice becomes instinct. And eventually you realize you don't have to act on every emotion just because you feel it. This is how you build freedom, not through escape, but through mastery. Your mind, once an unpredictable storm, becomes a calm sea with a strong captain. You steer the ship, not the waves. Each pause, each question, each intentional act strengthens your ability to lead yourself. So next time your mind rushes to judgment, take a breath. Step back. Respond on purpose. The more often you do this, the more power you gain. And in that practice, you'll find what the Stoics promised. True freedom is not out there, it's within. And remember, the goal isn't perfection, it's presence. You won't always get it right. But every time you pause instead of explode, reflect instead of retreat, you reinforce your authority over your inner world. Over time, this practice becomes your power. That's when the mind stops being your master and becomes your most loyal ally. So ask yourself, will you live by reaction or will you choose intention? Have you ever noticed how your mind suddenly fills with fear right before you're about to do something bold? That uneasy churn in your stomach, the voice whispering, maybe wait a little longer, or are you sure you're ready? These aren't coincidences, they're part of your brain's ancient wiring. You see, your mind was not designed for success. It was built for survival, and that's a problem if you want to thrive. The human brain is a master at detecting potential threats of imagined ones. Thousands of years ago, this instinct kept us alive. Today, it keeps us stuck. When you stand at the edge of opportunity about to launch a project, speak your truth, or chase a dream, your mind often interprets that unknown as danger. So it triggers hesitation, procrastination, or self-doubt, not because you're unprepared, but because your mind fears risk. But here's the truth. Risk is the price of greatness. And your mind will never lead you there unless you teach it how. Even elite athletes, top performers, and creators experience this survival response. They too hear the inner voice. This could fail. You'll be embarrassed. Don't try. But they act anyway. They've trained their minds to recognize fear for what it is, a signal, not a stop sign. This shift begins with a question. Is there real evidence I'm not ready? Often you'll find the answer is no. Your excuse is, I need more time. What if I'm not good enough? Are the brain's defense mechanisms, not reality. Faith and reason together offer an antidote. Whether it's faith in God, your purpose, or in the steady clarity of Stoic thought, you can override fear. How? By acting. By showing your mind through movement that imagined threats are not actual danger. Each step you take rewires your brain to embrace challenge instead of avoid it. Success isn't born from waiting, it's born from walking forward. While fear walks beside you, right. So write the first line, send the message, start the work. Action transforms your survival-focused mind into a success-driven one. Not instantly, but with every step, it gets stronger. And eventually you'll stop asking, am I ready? And start saying, let's go. You were not created to live in permanent hesitation. The mind can be trained just like the body. You take action, no matter how small. You begin shifting its loyalty from fear to purpose. That's how leaders rise. That's how warriors sharpen their focus. Not through waiting for courage, but by doing the hard thing anyway, until courage shows up on its own. So start today. Show your mind who's in charge. Every great achievement begins with a moment of hesitation. Even the strongest athletes, the most accomplished warriors, face that split second where their mind whispered, "Stop. Don't go any further." It's not weakness. It's human. But the difference between those who succeed and those who remain stuck is this: what they do when that voice appears. Take the long-distance runner Ian. As he stood at the starting line, his body was ready, but his mind was not. It stood like a fortress, flinging fears like arrows. What if I can't finish? What if I collapse? But something deeper surged within him: faith. Not blind hope, but a fusion of belief in God and the logical clarity of Stoic thought. Together, they gave him the strength to act. He began to run. Not because fear disappeared, but because purpose grew louder. Each step was resistance turned into rhythm. Each breath was proof that he was more than his mind's fears. That's the secret. Fear may always be present, but it doesn't have to be in charge. And once you prove that to yourself through action, your mindset begins to evolve. Procrastination is often a disguise. It's not always laziness. It's fear in a clever outfit. I need more time. I'm not ready. What if I fail? These are stories your brain tells to protect you from imagined pain. But when you pause and ask, is this fear or fact? You often discover it's fear pretending to be truth. God gave you a mind, yes, but also the courage to use it for more than survival. You were created not to shrink from challenge, but to grow through it. That means doing hard things not because they're easy, but because they shape you into who you're meant to be. Next time your heart races with anxiety, remind yourself, this is not a stop sign. It's a signal that growth is near. Write that page, take that leap, run that race. When your mind whispers, wait, respond with action. That's how transformation begins. The goal isn't to eliminate fear, it's to move forward despite it. In doing so, you'll find what faith and Stoic clarity both promise. Not a life free of struggle, but a life guided by something stronger than hesitation. Courage isn't found in the absence of fear. It's built through motion in the face of it. You're not weak because you hesitate. You're human. You grow powerful when you decide to move anyway. So don't wait for the perfect moment. Create it. Step through the fear. That's how you rise. There comes a moment when the only thing standing between you and your future is one small act. A step, a sentence, a start. But your mind hesitates, urges you to delay, to wait for better conditions. This is procrastination, not because you're lazy, but because your mind is trying to protect you from discomfort. You've probably said it before, I'll do it tomorrow. I just need to research a little more. But beneath those words lies a quieter truth: fear. Fear of not being good enough. Fear of failing. Fear of discovering that your dream requires more than you feel ready to give. These are the whispers of a mind still trained by survival, not success. What if procrastination isn't a sign to stop but a challenge to face? The moment you realize your delays are rooted in doubt, you gain the power to break them. Ask yourself, is there actual proof I'm not ready? More often than not, the answer is no. It's not that you lack ability. It's that you've overestimated the threat and underestimated your own strength. Faith and logic must now work together. Faith tells you that you were created for more than safety. Logic reminds you that you grow stronger through action. Together, they become the sword that severs delay. When you move, when you act, you show your mind that fear has no authority here. So write the first sentence, even if it's imperfect. Run the first lap, even if it's slow. Take that first brave step into the unknown. Each action becomes a teacher, a trainer, a builder of belief. And soon, the voice that once whispered, wait, will be drowned out by the rhythm of your own progress. God gave you intelligence not just to plan, but to move, to risk, to trust. The Stoics remind us that reason is our compass, but faith is our fire. When they work together, you're unstoppable. The enemy is not the task, it's the waiting. Every moment you choose discipline over hesitation, you train your mind to become an ally. So don't wait for courage. Take the step. That's when momentum begins. That's when your mind, once cautious, begins to believe in you. You don't have to leap miles ahead. Just shift 1 inch forward. Do one thing today that future you will thank you for. Because when you act, you quiet the chaos. You stop overthinking. You begin rewriting the story not with thoughts, but with motion. Your destiny isn't waiting for the right time. It's waiting for you to begin. David Goggins is not just a man. He's a force. A living reminder that the mind is both your fiercest adversary and your most loyal ally, depending on how you train it. His life began in shadows, booths, poverty, self-doubt, but instead of letting those conditions define him, he made a radical choice: to challenge his mind until it broke, then rebuild it stronger. As a child, he heard the noise, those inner voices that told him he wasn't good enough, and they didn't go away. When he became an adult, they followed him, mocking his dreams and limiting his steps. But Goggins didn't let the noise rule. He chose to confront it, and not with words, but with action. He didn't just train hard, he trained relentlessly. 4,030 push-ups in a single session. Grueling Navy SEAL preparation. Painful runs that tested his will. Each time his mind screamed quit, he responded with one more rep. That's how you turn fear into fire. Epictetus wrote, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Goggins made this his battle cry. He used life's challenges as raw material not to complain, but to construct an unbreakable self. He understood that you can't control circumstances, but you can always control how you show up. Discipline became his weapon. He woke up earlier, trained longer, never negotiated with comfort. His motto wasn't "when I feel like it, but especially when I don't." Action wasn't optional, it was mandatory. And over time, action silenced every lie his mind had ever told him. Then came his ultimate test, a 100-mile ultramarathon. His body broke. His legs bled. His mind screamed in agony. But he didn't stop. He leaned into the pain. He made suffering his proving ground, and with every step, he rewrote his limits. Goggins teaches us something powerful. Your thoughts are not facts. They're suggestions. You decide whether to follow them. He didn't wait to feel confident. He built confidence by doing hard things, consistently, without excuse. You don't need to be extraordinary to begin. You become extraordinary through action. Like Goggins, the moment you stop listening to doubt and start executing with discipline, everything changes. Not because it's easy, but because it's worth it. So ask yourself, what story is your mind telling you today? That you can't, that you shouldn't. Challenge it, then act. Don't negotiate with weakness. Show up. Do the work. Push one step farther. Because in the end, the difference between who you are and who you want to become is forged in that exact decision to act when your mind begs you not to. David Goggins didn't stop at understanding his pain. He committed to conquering it. His transformation didn't come from reading motivational quotes or waiting for inspiration. It came from showing up every single day, no matter how tired, broken, or uninspired he felt. And that's the lesson most people miss. Discipline is not a feeling. It's a decision. Goggins woke up before sunrise, ran through freezing conditions, and trained harder than most people thought possible. Not because he was superhuman, but because he refused to make excuses. Each morning, he looked in the mirror and chose discomfort over comfort. He chose growth over ease. And over time, that choice rewired his mind. Many people wait for motivation to strike before taking action, but Goggins flipped that equation. He took action first, then let momentum do the rest. He didn't negotiate with doubt. He didn't wait for permission. He acted relentlessly. Every act was a message to his mind. You're not in control. I am. His defining moment came. During a 100-mile ultramarathon, an event so grueling that most people wouldn't dare to start. Halfway through, his body screamed for mercy. His legs were shredded. His feet bled. But he kept going. Step after agonizing step, he chose movement over surrender. Why? Because he understood something most never realize. Your mind gives up long before your body needs to. Through pain, he found power. Through fatigue, he found focus. And in the fire of that test, he discovered the truth. Discipline isn't about pushing once, it's about pushing every time, no matter what. It's about keeping your word to yourself, especially when no one else is watching. Goggins became unstoppable not because he avoided pain, but because he embraced it. He used discomfort as fuel. Every hard thing he did became a vote for the man he wanted to become. That's how you build an identity rooted in strength. The next time your mind says, "I don't feel like it," respond with action. The moment you do, you reclaim your power. Like Goggins, your greatest growth won't come from comfort, it will rise from the fire you refuse to run from. Don't wait for the conditions to be right. Make them right through consistency. Build momentum through repetition. Start small if you must, but start, because every time you act despite resistance, you train your mind to follow, not lead. I'm nuts. How greatness is built, not in grand declarations, but in small, disciplined decisions repeated daily. There's a quiet war happening every day, a battle between your desire to grow and your instinct to retreat. In the battlefield, your mind. Behind every moment of hesitation lies a decision, to give in to doubt or to move forward with courage. But how do you consistently choose growth, especially when fear whispers so convincingly? The answer lies in a simple but powerful strategy. Observe, confront, execute. It's more than a method, it's a mindset shift. It teaches you to step out of the chaos in your head and regain command over your thoughts. Start with observation. Most people are so entangled in their emotions they can't separate thought from truth.
Oh.
But when you pause and say, "That's a negative thought, not my identity," you create distance. You begin to see that not every thought deserves attention. Like clouds in the sky, some are just passing distractions. Next comes confrontation. This isn't about brute force, it's about clarity. Ask yourself, is there evidence this thought is true? Often you'll find that the fear has no foundation. Maybe it's a belief rooted in past failure, or a voice from someone who doubted you long ago. By questioning it, you strip it of its authority. Then, you must execute. Action is the ultimate proof of power. Even if it's just writing one sentence, making one call, or taking one breath outside your comfort zone, those steps matter. They rewire your mind. They send the message, "I choose direction over delay." James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, admitted that many mornings he didn't feel like writing, but he always wrote at least 2 sentences. Not because they were perfect, but because the act itself maintained his identity as a writer. Your actions, no matter how small, reinforce who you are becoming. Observe, confront, execute. It's not about being fearless, it's about moving forward anyway. This practice done daily transforms hesitation into momentum and resistance into resilience. Over time, you'll discover that the enemy in your head is not permanent. With discipline, it becomes an ally. You don't need to feel ready, you need to begin. Action isn't reserved for the brave, it's what builds bravery. So the next time doubt shows up, don't negotiate. Observe it, question it. That single habit, repeated often enough, becomes your edge. It's not a trick, not a shortcut, but a way of life where clarity replaces confusion and motion replaces fear. Why is it so easy to sit for hours watching videos, yet incredibly difficult to do 10 push-ups or take a cold shower? It's not because we're lazy, it's because our minds have been conditioned to crave comfort. But the truth is, growth never comes from ease. It comes from deliberate hardship. And the fastest way to train your mind is by voluntarily doing hard things every single day. Imagine your mind as a blade sharp on one side, but dull on the other.
Oh.
When you avoid difficulty, the blade rusts. When you embrace discomfort, it sharpens. Something as simple as a cold shower becomes more than a physical test, it becomes a mental forge. The icy water doesn't just sting your skin, it wakes up your mind. It says, "I can do hard things." Discipline is like a muscle. It grows through resistance. Every time you hold a plank longer than you want to or run one more lap when your legs burn, you're teaching your brain a new story. You're replacing the narrative of weakness with a narrative of strength. Look at Wim Hof, the man who turned cold into his companion. He didn't just endure ice baths, he thrived in them. Why? Because he trained his mind to view discomfort as a tool, not an enemy. And so can you. You don't need to climb a mountain in shorts. You just need to start with what challenges you today. Training your mind through hardship doesn't mean punishing yourself. It means developing resilience. You're building a mind that doesn't fold at the first sign of pressure, but one that leans in and says, bring it on. And the beauty is, the strength bleeds into everything, your relationships, your goals, your sense of peace. Each morning becomes a battleland, an opportunity. Will you choose comfort, or will you choose the path that sharpens you? The rush after a cold plunge, the confidence after finishing a tough workout. It's the pride of not quitting, that's the reward. And the more you train that mental edge, the more unstoppable you become. So don't wait for life to test you. Test yourself first. Start with something small, then level up. Because each time you embrace the hard, you prove to your mind that strength is a choice, and it's one you can make daily. Your comfort zone is a cage disguised as safety, but beyond it lies real growth. Every hard thing you choose to do willingly becomes armor for the battles you didn't see coming. So, rise early, breathe deep, step into the cold, and know this: you're not just getting stronger. You're becoming unshakable. Your mind is a garden, and every piece of content you consume is a seed. The question is, what are you planting each day? When you scroll endlessly through social media, consuming headlines drenched in outrage or comment threads full of negativity, you're not just passing time, you're feeding your thoughts. And what you feed grows. Your mental environment shapes everything: your clarity, your discipline, your inner peace. If you flood it with noise, don't be surprised when your thoughts feel scattered. But here's the good news. You get to choose what enters. Now, just like your physical diet affects your energy, your mental diet affects your mindset. If you feed your brain junk, your perspective becomes toxic. But if you nourish it with books that challenge you, conversations that uplift you, and silence that allows space to think, your mind becomes sharper, calmer, and more creative. Tim Ferriss, the author of The 4-Hour Workweek, follows a low information diet. He limits his media consumption drastically, choosing depth over distraction. You don't have to cut everything off, but you must curate with intention. Swap mindless scrolling for a page of philosophy. Replace passive videos with meaningful podcasts. Don't just entertain your mind, train it. It's not only about content, it's also about community. Who do you speak to daily? Do they inspire clarity or contribute to confusion? Join groups that discuss ideas, not just events. Engage with people who push you to grow, not those who pull you into drama. Your environment includes the voices you let in make. Sure, they echo the direction you want to go. And when you need peace, don't be afraid to unplug. Turn off notifications. Sit with your thoughts. Reflect. Some of your greatest breakthroughs won't come from input, they'll come from intentional stillness. In the end, your mind becomes a reflection of what you allow in. So guard the gates, build a space where wisdom can flourish. Because when your environment supports your values, your mind stops working against you and starts working for you. Every click, every scroll, every conversation is a vote for the mind you are shaping. So be intentional, choose wisely, let your inputs align with your goals. Feed your mind the same way an athlete feeds their body with purpose, discipline, and vision, because when you create an environment of growth, your future self will thank you for the strength, clarity, and peace it brings. Have you ever reacted to something in a way that made you later think, why did I let that control me? In the heat of the moment, we often let our emotions decide for us: anger, fear, anxiety. But Stoicism teaches us something radically powerful. You don't have to react to everything. You can choose your response. And in that choice lies your freedom. Picture your mind as a double-edged sword. If you let emotion take the handle, it turns against you. But when you grip it with awareness, you turn that weapon into a tool for clarity, action, and purpose. The first step is to pause, not to suppress. or deny how you feel, but to give yourself space between stimulus and response. That space is where reason lives. When anger rises, ask, what's really causing this? When anxiety grips you, breathe and ask, is this danger or discomfort? That one question rewires your perspective. Then, shift into reflection. Use your journal as your training ground, just like Marcus Aurelius did. He faced war, plague, and betrayal, but didn't let chaos control his actions. He turned inward, wrote his thoughts, and in doing so, regained control. You can do the same. Write, reflect, refocus. From there, act with intention. This doesn't mean you won't feel emotions. It means you won't be ruled by them. You'll move with purpose instead of impulse. You'll speak with clarity instead of rage. You'll respond in alignment with your values, not your fears. True strength is not reacting, it's responding with wisdom. Each moment you choose deliberate action over emotional impulse. You shape a stronger, freer version of yourself. This isn't about perfection, it's about progress. So the next time life tries to shake you, don't grip harder, step back. Observe, choose, and act with conviction. Because that's what Stoic mastery is. Not avoiding emotion, but mastering your response to it. And mastering your mind, you unlock the greatest freedom of all, the freedom to live on your terms. You're not just reacting to the world, you're sculpting yourself through every decision. The more you practice intentional response, the more emotional mastery becomes second nature. It doesn't mean you'll never feel anger or fear again. It means those emotions won't derail your direction. Make reflection a ritual. Make stillness a strength. And when challenges arise, don't ask, how do I survive this? Ask, how do I lead myself through this? Because in that question lies the heart of Stoic power. You were not made to be a slave to circumstance, you were made to rise above it. And every intentional response you choose becomes another step toward that freedom.